Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being here for my regular Thursday blog. And today I have a special guest speaker, Todd Creager. Todd, welcome. Thanks for being here.
As always, love to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to feature you today because you are really talking about a very important topic that I really want to share with my community. And also you have a new program that you're getting ready to launch. I thought this is a perfect time to tell everyone about your program and talk about this important topic about overcoming your dysfunctional family and breaking free to your true self. Yes. I just love this. So before we jump in, Todd, let me share with the audience a little bit about your background. For those of you who don't know Todd, he's a marriage and sex therapist who helps couples create loving, passionate, long-term relationships. He's the author of The Long Hot Marriage, a highly regarded book for couples. He has a private practice in Huntington Beach, California, and he's been helping couples and individuals for 31 years in person and virtually. And he's been a guest on as many radio and TV shows, Oprah Winfrey Network, Fox Morning News, KCAL 9 in LA, Playboy Radio, etc. And he's an adjunct lecturer at USC, teaching graduate students in theory and practice. So you're in for a real treat. Todd, you are an expert.
Here's my USC class. There's the USC balloon over my head there. And yes.
So let's have you just speak a little bit louder. I noticed the volume went down, but let's jump in. I know you want to share about how to break free from constricted roles and self-defeating beliefs that are stopping you from having the love and life that you deserve. And this is the topic that I'm teaching about, and why I wanted to feature you, because it resonates with me so well, and you're such an expert at this topic. And didn't you recently post something on YouTube and you had 51,000 hits on that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, can you hear me now? I don't know what happened. Maybe I was just moving around with my head, but do I sound good?
Yeah. Just make sure you speak up. It's a little.
I talk louder than usual so that people around me will be wondering what's going on.
Sounds good. Anyway,
yeah. So actually 2 years ago, I do videos every month, and I put it out and it goes on YouTube. And I have some pretty successful videos, some not quite as successful, but over 2 years ago, I did one that said 7 signs you came from a dysfunctional family. And I got some, and then however the technological universe works, it just started going. I guess you can't say viral, because I don't know, viral might be millions, but it's tens of thousands, and every month is another 10,000. So I think I said 51 to you, I think it's now 60,000, even in the short time. It just keeps going, and it's wonderful because not only are they talking to me, but it becomes a community where they're talking to each other. And I notice that every day I get these emails that where they're talking to each other about where they came from a dysfunctional family. Sometimes they talk about what they've done. Sometimes it's kind of sad, what they've been through. And so I just realized there's such a need to deal with this stuff. Not to mention, as you said in my introduction, I deal a lot with couples, and couples are made up of 2 people that oftentimes came from dysfunctional families, and it's getting in their way. And so of course, well, what do I mean, right? What do I mean by dysfunctional? I guess it's a word that's probably used so much, but I say dysfunctional simply means that we came from families where significant parts of who we are had to be left behind, had to be disowned in our psyche, that we couldn't express those parts. For example, if a person comes from a family where there was a lot of anger in their mom and their dad, that there was no room for them to be angry. So they might have to be the good little boy or girl and be well behaved, because you don't need any more anger. There's already too much of it. So what happens is anger, which is actually a very important emotion, can be lost on them. And then they could end up being victimized and on so forth and so on. So I think it's very important for someone who works with couples like me to deal with individuals and help them break free to who they really are.
Yeah, so dysfunction is like to create these behaviors that stem from the dysfunction that really cause even more dysfunction in our adult lives, right?
Yes.
So I think that we're all bombarded with that. And so I'm really glad you're talking about this. Now, how do we inherit these roles, that you've been talking about that limit us in life? How does that happen?
So, like, let's say this person, this imaginary hypothetical person that happens way too often, this person may develop the role of very responsible because there's so much chaos in that home that, and maybe one of the siblings is acting out, which is another role, because people have different roles, they inherit them. Why? It's kind of not, it's kind of interesting the way the universe works. That you can have one sibling that's one role, and then another in the same family, totally different role. But let's say this person developed this role of being responsible because there was the way this person, let's say it's a man, a young boy, this is the way this boy had to survive, or a girl. Let's say, so this is the way this boy had to survive in this family by being responsible. Maybe it's so crazy at home that at least they did well at school and the teacher gave them compliments and gave that boy or girl strokes that, wow, you're doing great. And so they learn that the way to get any kind of good stuff from people is to always be responsible. And being responsible is great, but doing it to the extreme is not so good, because that person may grow up into an adult and they're in my office maybe with their partner, and their partner is saying, oh, this person's so boring. They never lighten up. They never let go. But they inherited this role of being responsible. And so their brain is wired to be responsible, not to be wild and crazy sometimes, which is very important. So that would be one role. Then the other sibling might have been acting out because it was so crazy that that's how they dealt with their anger and their emotions and their anxiety. So they would end up being the one that, got in trouble at school, or maybe got thrown in juvenile detention, and then eventually maybe prison. So, you could have that too. You could have these extremes in the same family.
Yeah. Wow. It's so fascinating. And it really does affect the people that we share our lives with. And, for me, helping women find love, it affects their dating process. All these things. So how can it, you kind of just touched on a little bit, but let's talk about a little bit more on how it can affect their current relationships or the ones you want to get into.
Well, let's say, dating, for example, you have, I've been on a guest in one of your shows, and all the challenges of dating, people that not necessarily 21, they're maybe 31 or 41 or 51 or older, and whatever age, dating is challenging. And so when a person has full access to their true self, they're better able to handle the challenges that come along with dating. But if this person is one of these people, let's say, that's a placater, which is another role, the one that takes care of everybody's emotions, that person may attract someone who's really spoiled or all about themselves. They sort of like fit in an unhealthy lock and key, because I'm the one that placates and takes care of other people, and this person that somehow I'm attracted to takes care of himself but nobody else. And so we're a perfect match, because, not really though, but a perfect match on the surface, because he's expressing a part of me that I don't honor, my own selfishness, and I express a part of him that he doesn't notice, which is a person that thinks about others. And so the dating scene becomes oftentimes one of these extremes, or at least one leans one way, one leans the other, and it works for the first few months or whatever, but then after a while, it's like, then it's that couple, wow, you're really boring. Oh God, is it always about you? And it becomes a problem, because they didn't realize that they both had slipped into roles. So we just continue to act out those roles, and even those that get committed and get married, they continue those roles until somebody points out, or they get so in pain that they go, we got to do something about it. And that's the good news, right? People can make changes. But until then, this thing could go on. And the person who's the selfish one becomes even more selfish. And the person who's the placater, giving one, gets more giving, to the point where they burn themselves out. And then they don't want to have sex with him anymore, because I'm so burnt out and stressed out. Why would I want to have sex with this selfish person? And the selfish person is thinking, what's wrong with you? You don't want to have sex with me. But it all comes from those roles.
Yeah, wow. And so I imagine breaking free is going to involve a certain amount of work, and you put together this program to
Yes.
free and, and stop creating these self-defeating beliefs. And so tell us a little bit about the program. It sounds really exciting, and I'm really encouraging everybody watching to sign up for this, because this is the work you have to do before you get into the dating process. Save you so much heartache and time and frustration if you can get clear on all these things that Todd's teaching about.
Yeah, well, it's 6 weeks that it's 6 weeks that will happen towards the end of the year. I got the schedule and all that, and we work with the Christmas holiday and then resume again after the new year. And each class is its own subject, but they're all related. And I have so much to say about it. And then each class also has 30 minutes of question and answer with me for those that are live, even though some people might choose to watch the recording, but you'll lose out on the questions, but you still get the recording of it. So the first one is more of an introduction, how to get ready. I mean, okay, this is what's going on. And you start to identify the roles that you have and what dysfunction really means, and it's sort of like, where are we going? And then the next one is about beliefs. You and I have done a show about that, and I'll be using one of the tools we talked about, the WAFIT, which is a whole tool that I use to help people simply and powerfully break through to new beliefs. Because when you come from these families, you end up having these negative beliefs running you. The belief I'm not good enough, the belief that life is unsafe, the belief that relationships don't work, so why bother? There's all kinds of negative beliefs that run us that are just beliefs. There's no truth in it. We just inherited them to make sense of the dysfunctional situation we may have grown up in. And look, I want to say this before I continue too. There are definitely extremes, and there are also we all come from families to some degree, I think, that has some dysfunction. People always comment on that, like, doesn't everyone? Yeah, because to the degree that we're not able to be fully ourselves, then that's dysfunction. So the group is for people that came from mildly dysfunctional families as well as extremely. Because what better gift in life than for me to become more and more of myself? And that's what the group is. So the third module is all about how to deal with toxic people. Because, in order for us to change on the inside, we have to get in touch with our beliefs on the inside, but then how do we deal with those toxic people that are in our lives right now? And how can we use those toxic people to help us? Sounds a little crazy, but it's true. We could use the people to grow and become more of who we are. The very people that have harmed us, obviously, we have to be clear about certain situations are dangerous, that's different. But most of the time, people can learn how to deal with these toxic people differently. And the module 4 is about paying attention to those roles, and like we have these dominant parts of our personality, but also discovering our more recessive sides of our personality, sort of like our alter egos. I was just talking to my USC class about, I think it's called Second Lives. It's a virtual community where you can become an alter ego. We could do that in real life, To some degree, we can do that in our real life. We don't have to go into our computer and pretend. We could actually practice it. So that's what we do, and we deal with that too. The fifth module is becoming visible. Again, when we come from these families where we weren't permitted to be all of who we could be, this is about learning to become more of who we are, more visible, and incorporating that from what we talked about with our alter ego. It could be very exciting. And then the last one is about creating the life you love. That rather than just think that life is about surviving, life is about creating a life that you love. Because we could either create by design or by default, and most people are going around creating by default. Their automatic programming is running their life, and they create exactly what's in their head. I always say everything that's created is created twice, once in our head and then in real life. So we start to really help people focus on how to think, how to begin their day, how to begin to shift old patterns that have kept them captivated. And as they do it, truthfully, the brain changes. I teach the USC students here the same thing. Our brain can change. So it's a phenomenal program that I'm excited about, that it'll change lives. And it's online, it's convenient, the price is right and all that. It's just really excellent.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say that Todd's helped change thousands of lives already. And I really believe in what Todd's teaching here because it's a precursor for dating and relationships, or even if you're in a relationship, you really need to do this work and to have this accelerated course that starts right away on November 15th before the holidays. I really recommend that you jump into his program. So the links are in the email that you've sent out when you clicked on to watch the video. So check out his page, sign up, and get and let Todd teach you how to make these shifts so that you can have the love and the life that you dreamed about. Yay, Todd, thank you. I'm really excited about your program. I
Thank
know it's
you.
going to be a big hit.
Well, yeah, I'm ready to help all those people and your lovely audience. So.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to say and encourage everyone that's watching is that the biggest thing that I recommend and that I hear from other people, the regret in life is not taking risks, not taking these opportunities. This is an opportunity. You ask for these things and Todd heard you and created an amazing program that, like he said, it's affordable, it's available, it's virtual, convenient. So make sure you at least look at the page, and if you feel a resonance, then take that risk. You won't be sorry. I've interviewed Todd many times. His work is phenomenal, and that's why I wanted to feature him today. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Todd, for sharing your expertise with us and for caring so much about people's, limiting beliefs and helping them change their lives. And
Thank you.
it's always a pleasure to hear you speak. I just think you're wonderful.
Thank you. Well, the feeling's mutual.
Okay, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for being here.